It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
And welcome to episode number 48. 48! Can you believe it? Closing in on 50. Might have to do something really extravagant for number 50. Maybe get a nice box of Franzia and crack it open and and party. Hey, guys, glad to have you with me today. 48 is going to be a good show. It's going to be about politics today. I'm doing 48 and 49 today. 49 will be less about politics. Today we're going to talk about just some, I think you'll find it interesting. Guy actually trespassed at the White House. Oh, an analysis of the political ads and why Hillary Clinton lost. A really funny video from Steven Crowder. He went to one of these marches for a day without women, which, I mean, really brought the country to a screeching halt. Do you remember that? Okay, maybe not so much. Oh, and I made the Baltimore Sun. I'll share that in a second. Chuck Schumer says that Planned Parenthood does mammograms. Not the case. No evidence of Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. All right. Just a whole bunch of stuff to get to on the show today. So make sure to check out the new website, which is Rob Carson Show. You can also check out the Facebook page, which is Facebook at Rob Carson Show. So I did make the Baltimore Sun this week. I was pretty excited about it. This is an article about International Women's Day and the Women's Day off or Day Without Women that happened. And I mentioned the other day that it was a day without leftist women. And I did an audio blog about it. But it was picked up by the Baltimore Sun. And here's what they quoted me. In an audio segment about the conservative at the conservative website Red Maryland, Rob Carson said the day was about some women acting like victims. And I did say that because it's a load of crap. The day without women is a day without leftist women. And it was a joke. My wife, I would assume she's a little bit further left than I am. I'm a libertarian leaning conservative, but at the same time, she went to work. You got to go to work. Here's the quote that they quoted me. I said, let's get one thing straight. This is not a day without women. This is a day without leftist, Democrat, pro-abortion, Hillary voting, Donald Trump hating women. There you go. Boom. Made the Balmer Sun. Very cool. Make sure to check out redmaryland.com, by the way. You may be listening to Red Maryland as we speak right now. They've been very gracious hosts for my podcast. And they are a terrific, terrific political blog. And it is an honor for me to be on there. All right? So, let's move on to some other stuff. Donald Trump is praising Secret Service for capturing what he called a troubled person who broke into the White House grounds by scaling a fence at midnight. This happened on Friday. Apparently, the guy was wearing a backpack, was found near the south entrance before midnight. Trump was in the residence at the time of the incident. The suspect was arrested, now in custody. Sources said the man claimed to be a friend of the president. Usually, you don't have to scale fences to go hang out with your friends. I'm just saying, maybe if you're not invited to a party, you might consider it. But anyway. Sean Spicer commended the Secret Service in a statement on Saturday. How do you get there? How do you get to the residence with a backpack after climbing over the fence? I don't know. It's a little frightening. In my lifetime, I've seen some very interesting breaches of security at the White House. Wasn't it during the Reagan administration? A guy actually landed a plane on the lawn and I guess kind of ran into the White House. I think he died. I'm not even sure. Been some interesting breaches of security at the White House. You know that house is worth $200 million. They did an analysis of the house, the land that it's on. They said it's worth $200 million. So that's like one of the highest priced mansions in the entire country. I wouldn't want to live there. It's too busy down there. I've been down there. So an analysis of the TV ads from Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump was done. I find this fascinating. Donald Trump's 2016 TV campaign advertisements were far more focused on promised policies than were the ads run by Hillary Clinton's team, which were far more numerous, negative, and narrowly focused on personality claims. Over 60% of ads supporting Clinton were solely about candidate characteristics, while only 25% focused on policy because she had no policy. Here was her policy. Status quo, basically, on foreign policy. Status quo on most everything. As far as reviving the economy, a massive infrastructure projects, which is the WPA, and increasing the minimum wage. That was it. That was it. Okay. According to the report, these strategic differences may have meant that Clinton was more prone to voter backlash and did nothing to overcome the media's lack of focus on Clinton's policy knowledge, especially for residents of Michigan, Wisconsin, might throw in Pennsylvania there, who were receiving policy-based and specifically economically focused messaging from Trump. Bring back jobs. Unleash American energy. All of these things. These were people who were suffering, and she ignored them while she had Lady Gaga on stage with her. Clinton's message was devoid of policy discussions in a way not seen in the previous 4 presidential contests. This according to the report prepared by Wesleyan Media Project. Now, I guess we should have seen this, right? Should we have seen this coming? It's a surprise to many of us, but now it's obvious. Hindsight, 2020, right? The report debunks much of the established media narrative, which portrayed Trump's campaign as a personality-driven, chaotic scramble. Not the case. And particularly the last 2 months when he brought on Steve Bannon and Kellyanne Conway. His message strategy was more traditionally policy-focused. Ironically, it was the Clinton campaign that deviated sharply from the conventional playbook when it came to messaging, despite following conventional norms in terms of volume, placement, and targeting of ads. And they got their asses handed to them on this. Hillary Clinton's campaign, along with her allies, these are PACs, spent vastly more on campaign advertising than did Donald Trump, and yet Donald won the election. The campaign aired just under 200,000 ads. The Clinton campaign aired just under 200,000 ads at an estimated cost of just under $120 million during the last 9 weeks of the campaign, dwarfing the Trump's campaign, 76,000 ads at a cost of $66 million, about half as much. Clinton's advantage becomes even more stark when one adds the almost 50,000 spots aired by Priorities USA, a pro-Clinton super PAC. Clinton's campaign also bought almost 300,000 ads on local broadcast and national cable outlets, plus almost 700,000 ads on local cable channels. In contrast, Trump's campaign funded less than 100,000 ads in both categories combined. Unreal. So Clinton's campaign and her allies ran at least 1.25 million ads compared to Trump's 186,000. Wow. You want to talk about bang for your buck. I'm looking into thinking about it's about what, maybe 1/6. Trump's use of Twitter may have canceled out Clinton's huge advantage in campaign funds. True. The report saying perhaps the intense media coverage in 2016 was driven less by messages of political advertising as it has been in the past and more by Donald Trump's Twitter account. Guys, I don't know if it's brilliance. I really don't know if it's brilliance with regard to Twitter. He has a following, and he's good at it. he's good at it, right? Yeah, he was good at it. I think we can say that he drove the news cycle with Twitter, which is something I don't think anybody in history has done, really. I mean, you have a lot of celebrities on Twitter. He drove the news cycle with Twitter. Holy crud. All right, let's talk a little bit about Steven Crowder. He went out on the Day Without Women. The Day Without Women. Sorry. And I know that I've had a lot of friends, actually, who I know who have defriended me on Facebook because of my position on the Women's March and the Day Without Women. Because it doesn't represent women, and I'm offended by it, even though that I'm not a woman. Although, wait a minute, I'm going to identify as a woman. Okay, now I'm identifying as a woman. So now I can criticize it. It's not about women. It's not about all women. It's all about socialist, leftist, anti-Trump, pro-Hillary, pro-choice people. It's driven by organizations that are funded by the Democrat Party, Democrat operatives, leftist groups, George Soros, etc. That's what it's all about. So it's a freaking joke. And if you feel if you feel like you're a part of this movement, you need to investigate who you're supporting. If you just think that it's about women and women's rights and all this, you're high. It is a made-up AstroTurf movement. That's just what it is. It's not about women. And to claim that women are victims in 2017, honestly, this is a movement that's been going across the country for a while. People claiming victim status because maybe we aren't familiar with the struggles that people have been through in the past. Black Lives Matter is a made-up movement. It's attempting to drag us back to 1968 all over again, particularly on campuses. And it's really funny because on some campuses where, students pay $60,000, $70,000 for tuition, there are people who are so coddled, who are so pampered with mommy and daddy covering all of their costs, etc. They need some sort of victimhood. The guy who led the Black Lives Matter protest at the University of Missouri, which ended up getting a chancellor fired and a university president relieved of duty, was the son of a railroad baron in Omaha, Nebraska. He's a black kid. He claimed that he was victimized in downtown Columbia, Missouri. Somebody drove by, some rednecks drove by in a pickup truck and said some sort of racial epithet. We've never seen a description of the truck. We've never seen a license plate number. We've never seen any pictures. It's a load of crap. This sort of victim mentality has been going on around the country. Right now, there are a lot of people who are claiming there are hate crimes going on in the country. For instance, anti-Semitic hate crimes on the rise, or anti-Muslim hate crimes on the rise. Not true. Just not. Most of them are found to be false. All right. Back to the subject of the Day Without Women. And by the way, the Day Without Women did not stop my wife from giving me crap to do around the house. It never did. I was like, can if you want to do the Day Without Women, won't you just go somewhere? Okay, I'll do the dishes, whatever. So here's Steven Crowder, who I really enjoy his work. He's a great guy. And he went to a Day Without Women. And this, I believe, was in Texas at TC. No, it was a women's college. Anyway, in Dallas. So he goes to this women's college. And Crowder dressed as a woman. I dressed as a transgendered person, very bulky transgendered person, who I oddly enough found wildly attractive. Anyway, went down there to find out what the Day Without Women was all about. And it turns out it was pretty much about socialism, communism, and whatnot.
With hashtag Day Without a Woman on March 8th. It was publicized everywhere, all over media, media, Facebook, front page of YouTube. After it started taking place, however, there was no mention of it. Thankfully, me and my producer went down to the protest. And what do we find? Well, a very small group of slightly large, nonsensical young women who really just wanted, in the name of equality, everything.
We also do call for full reproductive rights, including completely free access to abortion. These are things that we call for.
That's actually all that's about. It's all about abortion.
Because abortion is not just a woman's issue.
Yes.
Abortion is a trans issue. Abortion is a man's issue. Abortion is an issue.
Why is abortion a trans issue? I don't know.
That's an international issue.
It is.
Abortion.
Yes.
Abortion!
Right to legislate against anyone's body and tell them what they can and cannot do with it.
Yes. And if you have a body inside of you, you should be able to shred it. Throw it in the garbage. Abortion. Why? Wow. Of all the things that empower women, to make the ending of a pregnancy, which is the most sacred thing in the world, to house another human life, to make killing that baby, and I'm playing the greatest hits of conservative talk radio, to claim that killing that baby somehow empowers women, does the opposite with half of the women, meaning half of the pregnancies, future women. Here's a little bit more from Steven Crowder as he discovered the more communistic roots of the Day Without Women.
That sounds just like the previous Women's March. So what made this one different?
We're kind of ditching the capitalism, the heteronormativity.
Okay.
The heteronormativity. Is that a real word? Well, hold on a second. I got to hear that again. That's got to be made up.
The heteronormativity.
Heteronormativity. Heteronormativity. I'm going to Google that real quick here.
Okay.
The transphobia, the cis-sexism that was so rampant with the Women's March.
Right.
And we're going into something more intersectional, more inclusive.
Still lost on that.
Okay, that was what I was going to say.
And more radical.
The point of capitalism is that there's an exploiting class and an exploited class.
Oh, now, okay. So now it's about capitalism. So I guess women aren't for capitalism. Okay.
So,
Environmental justice is reproductive
Environmental justice. Okay.
justice. And
Reproductive
environmental justice is a feminist issue.
but the problem with this, to borrow from a comrade,
Comrade, yeah.
is that what happens when you break a glass
They even use the word comrade. That's spectacular. Oh, my goodness.
ceiling is it leaves the shards for millions of women that are below to step on.
Okay. All right. Then we get into the official color of the Day Without Women, which oddly enough wasn't pink. It was red.
It still begs the question, what does any of this have to do with feminism? And as far as event attendance,
Yes.
Big swing and a miss.
As revolutionary socialists, who are many of the people organizing this,
Revolutionary socialists. Okay.
we're not here to promote cis-sexism or heteronormativity.
Sure.
Heteronormativity. What is it? Supercalifragilistic?
Especially if they're about
Heteronormativity. Okay.
feminism, which is not about biological
Heteronormative.
Sure.
determinants of anything. Because the vaginas that you experienced out there.
Yes.
Not only is that image detrimental to people who don't have that anatomy or people who are uncomfortable with their anatomy and
Sure.
don't want that anatomy, it's not inclusive.
It'd be hard to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's also pink, and not everybody has pink genitalia.
Mine certainly aren't.
It's true.
It is, and it was very much just a white women's march.
Okay.
What's happening here is
Oh, crazy blue-haired feminist. Was wondering when you'd show.
we have a Nazi is supporting what's coming up here.
We have open white supremacists in office now. And truthfully,
Like who?
Steve Bannon.
He's an open white supremacist?
Yeah.
Okay, who's a Nazi?
Ban it.
Oh, okay, we're back to, okay.
I hear the Easter egg roll is going to be replaced with the cross burning this year. Maybe it's just a rumor.
Ban it.
So what, is there a specific reason for the red?
So the red, actually, historically, Women's Day was a day of national action for socialists.
Sure.
Socialists. There we go.
And so we decided to wear red in solidarity with that.
Is red like an official socialist party color? Or is it?
It's kind of close. I
Okay.
mean,
So kind of like the communism sort of red?
yeah.
Okay.
So I guess that women are all communists. One more little sample from Steven Crowder's Day Without Women.
What's the killing of black trans women?
The majority of violence committed against
Oh, this is great. Okay. He confronts a guy who's got a sign that talks about violence against trans women. And most of the people of these marches can't put two words together. This guy could not stop saying the word like. In the entire exchange, he said the word like 85 times. I said like 85 times. Here is the like meter with the black transphobic guy.
What's the killing of black trans women?
the majority of
Ding,
violence committed
ding.
against
Like-
trans people and trans women particularly are targeted for a lot in terms of police violence and
Yeah.
just intimate partner violence and a lot of them I don't want to say a lot of them, but there are there's a significant part of the trans population that's that are sex workers because they're forced into sex work oftentimes because they don't have any avenues for employment because of employment discrimination. Oftentimes they're targeted for with violence.
There's always Uber. I mean, if you're a black transsexual, there's always Uber.
And often there's a significant
What are they doing?
So trans women of color and particularly black trans women are often the ones that are most likely to be targeted for violence
likely.
like this and murders and things.
Okay.
And so it's a particular issue. I think 7 trans people have been murdered so far this year. And the trans population is not big.
Okay. I'll agree with that. It's very, very small. Very small. Good work, Mr. Crowder. As always, good work. The insanity of the left. Jorge Ramos with Univision. Or is it Univision? Wait. I looked up the word. Heteronormativity on Wikipedia. Heteronormativity. Honestly, that's a big move for people at these protests to be able to say a word that has more than one syllable. That's spectacular. Heteronormativity is the belief that people fall into distinct and complementary genders, male and female, with natural roles in life. It assumes that heterosexuality is the only sexual orientation or the only norm, and states that sexual and marital reasons are most fitting between people of the opposite sex. Consequently, a heteronormative view is one that involves alignment of biological sex, sexuality, gender identity, and gender roles. Okay, I have a PP. I'm a guy. All right? And I've got this chromosome thing going on, and I can't change the chromosome thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm a guy. I might be able to identify as a woman. Doesn't mean I'm going to be a woman, because I'll still have the PP and not the nina. I use those words because that's what I told my children when they were little. I guess I'm heteronormative. Well, yeah, okay. Jorge Ramos says that illegal boarding crossings are way down because of the Trump effect. Here he is talking on CNN to Anderson Cooper.
Let me just say that fear is stronger than any wall. What we are seeing right now is the Trump effect.
It's not fear, it's policy. Okay? The only reason that DACA entries into this country happened in such a dramatic fashion the last 2 years of the Obama administration was policy. That's it. It was policy. Trump policy is causing people to go, I want to rethink crossing the border illegally.
Fact is people calling their relatives and their friends in Latin America and saying, don't come here. This is not the right moment. So,
okay, perfect. Listen to this. 40% illegals down 40%. That means that 40% of the wall is already built before they started building it.
I think it is possible. Really, no one wants illegal immigration, not even undocumented immigrants. It is very risky for them. It's better to do it in a legal way. And the other positive thing...
No, that's clearly not true, Jorge.
...is that I think many Americans, many people who voted for Donald Trump, they really have to understand that there's no invasion. No one is invading the United States. Mexicans are not invading the United States. The undocumented population has remained...
Nobody has said that they're invading. They've only said that they're entering the country illegally.
Stable at about 11 million for the last decade. So those are the positive things. That the negative is that this is the Trump effect. This is created because of the policies of...
It works beautifully. You want to call it the Trump effect? Great. How about just enforcing immigration laws? Why don't we call it that?
Fear and xenophobia.
Xenophobia. No.
And cruelty.
Cruelty, of course. You got to throw in cruelty.
This is because they are deporting people who are not criminals, who have no criminal record.
It's not happening.
Moms and dads. And that's completely different than what happened with the Barack Obama administration.
All right, there you go. So that's what Jorge is saying about it. I love it because the message is getting south of the border that you just can't enter wholesale into the country illegally and be held for a few days and then be released wholesale into the society, into the country, without learning the language, without saying that you want to be an American, without taking the citizenship test, without going through the process of becoming a citizen, without denouncing your previous citizenship and putting your flag below the United States of America flag. Yeah. That's what Mexico does. Have you noticed that all of the stories about Donald Trump's campaign colluding with the Russians have disappeared? Have you noticed that? Have you also noticed the outcry from, I'll just go ahead and say, dipshits like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi for Jeff Sessions' resignation immediately? Those have gone by the wayside because they got their soundbite. And I said at the beginning of the investigation of the Trump campaign that the Democrats, what was going to happen was that they were going to find that there was more collusion with the Democrats than the Republicans. That there were more shenanigans going on. Yes, I said shenanigans. there were more shenanigans going on between the Democrats and the Russians than Donald Trump and the Russians. That story is suddenly gone. It was a major scandal. It was the reason why the election was upset. And you know why? Do you know why it's gone away? There's no evidence of it. I said this from the get-go. There was no evidence of it. According to Circa's Sarah Carter, an investigation into a Trump server found no evidence of Russian collusion. She spoke to Sean Hannity on Thursday about that on Fox News.
Yeah, basically what we discovered through our sources was that the investigation into Trump's server, which remember is not inside Trump Tower, but outside of Trump Tower, but registered to Trump, showed no evidence of any criminal activity that would warrant any kind of prosecution of anybody in the Trump team. So that was a very short-lived investigation. Huh. Now, there was also a separate FISA. It was an overall FISA. And I don't have as much information on that.
We're going to find out, and I'll just go ahead and predict this. We're going to find out that the scandal exists with regard to Barack Obama bugging Trump Tower, surveilling Donald Trump's campaign, and the sundry effects of that.
FISA, though, was a general FISA that covered the whole Russian hacking investigation. Now, whether or not there were people connected to that FISA, we don't really know. But we know that the warrant to look into Trump's server found nothing criminal in that investigation.
Wasn't one FISA and one not?
Exactly. One was the FISA. The server was not a FISA. It was a regular warrant. The FBI had a traditional investigation when they went into that server. And it was very short-lived. So they didn't spend a lot of time in the server. They went in there, they didn't find anything, and in fact, they said they didn't investigate any emails and they didn't listen to any phone calls. So,
and oddly enough, I don't think Donald Trump deleted all of his. Just saying. The Washington Post has fact-checked Chuck Schumer. He said last week that millions of women turned to Planned Parenthood for mammograms, which, of course, is a load of horse shit. I'll just say it. According to the WAPO, they say it's mostly false. Chuck Schumer was talking about the American Health Care Act, the Affordable Care Act. He tweeted Tuesday that Trump Care would be hurting millions of women who turn there for mammograms, maternity care, cancer screenings, and more. They do none of that. Planned Parenthood does not perform mammograms. The organization makes referrals for them. Okay, so what? Yeah, so what do you come in and you're a woman and they say, okay, you're over 40, you might want to go get a mammogram. You're over 30, you might want to get a mammogram. It's an abortion mill. That's all it is, guys. Post noted that while some Planned Parenthood affiliates sometimes host free mammography mobile vans for low-income or uninsured women. Also, local Walmarts do that, by the way. No affiliates have mammogram machines in their clinics, of course. The FDA does not include any Planned Parenthood clinics on its list of certified mammography sites because they don't do them. Matt House, Schumer's spokesperson, who has to clean up his mess, told the Post that the tweet referenced the fact that each year, Planned Parenthood doctors and nurses provide referrals for women to receive mammograms. And hundreds of thousands more receive breast exams at Planned Parenthood clinics. Okay, sure. It is a fact that the Trump Care proposal that defunds Planned Parenthood next year would eliminate access to critical screening and resources for women across the country. No, doctors do that. It's pretty crazy. Doctors do mammograms. Seriously. A lot of clinics actually do that. Planned Parenthood doesn't. Planned Parenthood is an abortion mill. That's it. All right. Let's talk a little bit about, Nancy Pelosi. Remember Nancy Pelosi a couple of years ago said this about Obamacare, that we would have to pass it to find out what's in it?
We're very, you've heard about the controversies within the bill, the process about the bill, one of the items. But I don't know if
this woman can barely put together a cohesive sentence.
You have heard that it is a legislation for the future.
Yes.
Not just about health care for America, but about a healthier America.
Yeah.
where preventive care is not something that you have to pay a deductible for or out of pocket.
Well, my deductible's gone up pretty darn dramatically. In fact, I couldn't access my health care last year because I didn't get past the deductible.
Prevention.
Yeah,
It's about diet, not diabetes.
Diet. Oh, that's good.
It's going to
It's like bumper sticker.
be very, very exciting. But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it away from the fog of the controversy.
Yes, we have to pass it to find out what's in it. Apparently, she's changed her mind when it comes to transparency, calling on House Speaker Paul Ryan to release all of the information about the House GOP's American Health Care Act so voters can see the full impact of the Obamacare replacement bill. It's online right now, by the way. It's going to be changed, and there's going to be some things added and whatnot. She, of course, said, we have to pass the bill so you can find out what's in it. Obamacare legislation, according to the Washington Post, was at least 10,000 pages long. It was overly and purposefully complex for that reason. You might also mention that hearings where Obamacare was being debated, the door locks were changed to keep Republicans out of it. It was a joke passed in the dead of night on Christmas Eve 2010. By the way, if the CBO determines the House Republicans' health care proposal would add to the deficit, dead on arrival. Dead on arrival. I don't know about you, but my health care got a lot more expensive in the last couple of years. I mean, it became real expensive. Real expensive. All right. That's going to do it for episode number 48 of the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you get a chance, check out my Facebook page at Rob Carson Show. My website is robcarsonshow.com. If you'd like to help me out keeping the lights on, go to Patreon, patreon.com. Look for Rob Carson Show. For $1 or $5 or $10 a month, it means that this show stays on the air, all right, and on your computer. So download and share if you would. I greatly appreciate your help. In the meantime, God bless. Take care, and I will be back for episode number 49 very soon. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see ya.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.